Hello everyone, welcome to another part of this tutorial. We are looking at how to create this animation, and in the first part we did the modeling. This part we are going to work on the rigging of this character. Follow the links in the description for the entire tutorial series. So if you have followed the first part, we have a cart and two wheels. That's what we modeled in the last class. So now we are going to do the rigging part. So before we do the rigging part, we want to make sure that all the location, rotation, and scale are um, zeroed out, and that the pivot point or the origin is at the center of the mass. So if you go to object, set origin to geometry, you can see that the origin is here in the center of mass. But now our location has changed. So all you have to do is object, apply, uh, location to delta, or you can say all transforms to delta. So the origin stays there and all these numbers become zeros and ones. Now if you hit the 3 key on the numeric pad, we might as well move our cart center to the middle of the wheel. And then we can again go to object, apply. Uh, we can move the cursor at the base of this object. So if you hit the tab key and find like the vertex at the base, so it can be like between these two, or at least actually it is between these two. All right, actually it is this is the middle. So we can go to shift S and then say cursor to selected. So the cursor goes there, we'll go out of tab and then go to object, set origin to 3D cursor. Okay, so that way when we rotate, it rotates from the base of the wheel. Okay, so now everything is zero, so this has to be object, apply, all transform to delta, object, apply, all transform to delta. So now everything has object transform to delta. All right, so all our objects have zero values here, and the cursors are in the right place as well. Okay, so that is important. Whenever we are doing rigging, these are important aspects, so that when the animator is animating, he has clean values to animate from, but just makes more sense. Now we will start creating controllers. So we'll go to add empty, and I'm going to use a single arrow. Now it is at the cursor here, so we can again go to object or shift S, cursor to world origin, so the cursor goes back to 0. This cursor again not exactly in the center. I will move this up by 3, rotate it. So this is the front side of our cart, and we will scale it by 3, so it's big enough to easily be able to select. Alright, so that will be our control main. We'll go to add empty single arrow, and I'll move it on the right by 1.3. That's where our wheel was. and I'm again going to scale it by 3 so it comes above the wheel, and this is going to be renamed control wheel left. Okay, shift D, move it negative my 1.3, and we will rename this right. These are important steps in rigging. Okay, so these are our main controls. What we want is that this wheel should be parented to this. So we'll go to Control P, transform to parent this, shift this, Control P, parent set origin. Now what we want is this object, uh, to be parented to this. Control P, keep origin. So when I select this, the entire wheel moves. So this, shift this, Control P, and then that is parented to that. So now our wheel will be rotating in one axis like this, which is the rotation of x-axis, and that wheel will rotate when I move this in y-axis. Okay, so this will be shift this, Control P, object, select this, shift this, Control P, parent. Alright, so now when this moves, these wheels move. Now this will also be parented to this. So this main control is when moved, everything else moves. Alright, this is independent. This is independent. Alright, but when I move this, so I'll go to object, apply, all transforms to delta. So everything becomes 0 here. This also object, apply, all transforms to delta, object, apply, all transforms to delta. Alright, now rotation of the wheel. So this wheel should rotate when this is moved. So I'm going to select this, go to constraint and add a transformation constraint, and this target is going to be our main control. We will do one wheel and then we'll do the other wheel. So what we are saying, extrapolation, when you click this, then whether you move left or right, this is going to work. So it is infinite movement. That's what we want. Now what we want is we need to move this a specific distance, so this makes one complete round. So we need to know the circumference of this object. So we know that the dimension is 2.05. Let me open a calculator. All right, so the circumference formula is 2 pi r or pi d or 3.14 multiplied by this number, which is 2.05, and that comes to 6.437. So when this moves 6.437, this should move 360 degrees. That's the basic math. So if we are moving this in y-axis 6.437, then this will, the x-axis of this will be controlled by y-axis of this object, and the rotation is going to be 360. So when I move this, I made one mistake. It is not the location here. This is not location, this should be rotation. So I'll make this 0 again, and this will go to x, xyz. Okay, rotation. So x-axis will be controlled by y, 360. All right, so we need to the y of this controls x of this. So when this moves in y, this moves in x, but it has to be negative. So I'll select this again, and then this will be minus 6.437, and now it is moving in the right direction. Okay, so to understand it better, we will do one more time. So this wheel will have the transformation controller, and we will not do extrapolate this time. The y has to move minus 6.347, and when that happens, his rotation x-axis is controlled by the y movement of this. So the y movement will control the x rotation, and that has to be 360. So if I move this, it's not working, and then if I do extrapolation, what went wrong? We didn't select what should move. So control main. And will the extrapolation fix the problem? And the extrapolation fix the problem. Okay. So now we have this wheel working independently, this wheel working independently, and this is moving our wheel. So, and then we can rotate this if we want. We can move it up and down if we want. And now that rig is almost done. So now we will see how the constraint works for uh, the ground plane. So we will add a mesh called plane. We'll name it ground, and I'll scale it big. Okay, and then go to object, apply all transforms, so everything is 0. Tab, we need more segments. I'll click once and type 25 in the other direction. Do the same thing. Tab to get out of the edit mode. And this time we'll go to modify panel, and we're going to add a displace modifier. Okay, and then we will add a we will go here on this button here to the texture tab, or you can click here, and we'll add a new texture, and then you can see how things change. We will use clouds texture, for example. Okay, and then you can control how the texture is mapped. Okay, and then you can go and work with the strength. All right, so this looks good enough. We will apply this, and then we will add a subdivision surface, and then we'll say object shade smooth. All right, so we have an object which is uneven, and now we will animate, we will constrain our wheels to the surface. I'll select this, go to constraint, and we'll use shrink wrap, and we are going to use ground, and see how it moved. We'll select this, do the same thing, shrink wrap, and we are going to use ground. All right, so when we move this, and then that can be seen very clearly here, these wheels are going to move up and down. Okay, so they will always follow the contours. Okay, if you go to 1 and then move y, you will see that things are, they're moving left and right a little bit. So if you select this and change this to from here to projection, and this from here to projection, We'll select the main arrow and then we can drag this, and then they always stay in the straight line, but they are going to move up and down based on where the object is. So that's how we can make this guy always follow the ground. You can see that it doesn't work below 0, so we will move it above the 0 plane and it will work much better. Okay, so that's about it. In the next class, we will look at how to set up the keyframes and we'll look at the other things. Thank you very much.